Hey warriors, life doesn't prepare you for its hardest moments. It throws you into the fire and waits to see if you'll burn or become steel. The hardest challenges arrive unannounced. Days when getting out of bed requires more courage than climbing mountains. Nights when silence screams louder than any storm. And somewhere between the breaking and the rebuilding, something profound emerges. The hardest challenges don't destroy. They reveal who we've been waiting to become. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words aren't just ancient wisdom. They're a lifeline when drowning in circumstances never asked for. The truth is, pain has a purpose. Struggle carries meaning. Every tear cried waters seeds nobody knew were planted. Every battle fought in silence creates warriors nobody sees coming. The hardest chapters aren't punishments. They're promotions to a version not yet met. Think about the moments that broke you, really broke you. The loss that felt unbearable, the failure that shattered confidence, the betrayal that rewrote understanding of trust. Those weren't random accidents. They were masterclasses disguised as misery, teaching lessons no classroom could ever offer. Comfort creates complacency. Easy roads build soft people. But hardship? Hardship builds character that can't be shaken, wisdom that can't be taught, and strength that can't be borrowed. When life strips away everything thought to define identity, discovery finally happens of what actually sustains existence. Right now, someone watching this is in the middle of their storm. Questions arise about survival, wondering if pain will ever end, exhausted from being strong because strength itself exhausts. Hear this truth. Survival isn't the only thing happening. Evolution is occurring. Every breath taken in darkness becomes an act of defiance against defeat. The hardest challenge isn't happening to anyone, it's happening for them. It's sculpting, refining, preparing for a future that requires exactly the kind of person this struggle creates. Falling apart? No, falling together in ways only understood when looking back from higher ground. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending pain doesn't hurt. This is about recognizing that the hardest moments are also the most transformative. The cocoon feels like a coffin to the caterpillar, but it's actually a birthplace. Struggle isn't an ending, it's a beginning. Today, 7 life lessons emerge from walking through fire. Not theories, not concepts. Real truths earned through real tears. Lessons that change everything about how struggle, strength, and the beautiful mess of being human gets viewed. These aren't the usual lessons heard 1,000 times. These are truths nobody talks about because they're too raw, too real, too uncomfortable. But discomfort is where growth lives. And being here means readiness to grow. If this already hits you, like the video. Drop a quick comment so I know you're here. Share this with someone who needs it. And subscribe to stay part of this growing community. Don't skip, your breakthrough might be in the next line. If this feels true for you today, write it in the comments and claim your growth. I'm becoming stronger every day. Let's begin this journey together. The hardest challenge is about to become the greatest teacher. Number 1. Silence teaches what noise never could. The world celebrates noise. Loud victories get praised. Visible wins attract attention. Success stories come with applause and recognition. But nobody talks about the power hidden in the quietest moments. When life hits hardest, a silence arrives so profound it feels like isolation. Friends stop calling because they don't know what to say. Family offers advice that doesn't fit the pain. Social media shows everyone else winning, while barely surviving feels like the only reality. And in that silence, feeling forgotten becomes overwhelming. But here's the truth. That silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. Rumi said, "The quieter you become, the more you can hear." When everything strips away, the distractions, the noise, the constant need to perform, real voices finally get heard. Not voices that echo what others expect. Real voices, the ones that know truth. In the darkest seasons, talking about struggle stops. Not from shame, but because words feel inadequate. Sitting with pain instead of running from it becomes necessary. Listening to what pain tries to teach becomes possible. And slowly, in that unbearable silence, parts get discovered that noise had drowned out for years. Silence forces honesty. Lying to oneself becomes impossible when there's nobody around to perform for. Faking strength fails when no audience watches. Facing the self happens, unfiltered, unedited, undeniably real. And that's terrifying. But it's also liberating. The hardest challenge isolates. People who said they'd always be there disappear. Plans made together crumble. Dinners get eaten alone. Tears fall in empty rooms, wondering if anyone would notice if trying just stopped. But in that isolation, something miraculous happens. Meeting the self for the first time. Discovery happens. Strength exists beyond what was thought. Bravery exists beyond what was believed. Resilience exists beyond what anyone credited. The silence that felt like abandonment was actually protection, protecting from voices that would have weakened resolve, opinions that would have clouded judgment, distractions that would have delayed growth. Isolation isn't pleasant. It's brutal, but it's also sacred. In the quiet, intuition gets heard. Purpose reconnects. Memory returns of who existed before the world told who to be. Noise teaches how to fit in. Silence teaches how to stand out. Think about seeds. They grow in darkness, buried in soil, completely alone. Nobody sees the struggle. Nobody witnesses the breaking. But that hidden process creates the breakthrough. Silent seasons aren't punishments, they're plantings. Right now, if silence surrounds you, stop fighting it. Stop trying to fill every quiet moment with distraction. Stop reaching for phones every time loneliness whispers. Sit with it, listen to it, let it teach what years of noise couldn't. Silence shows which relationships were real and which were just comfortable. It reveals which dreams were yours and which got borrowed from others. It strips away every false identity until only authentic self remains. And yes, that's painful, but pain that reveals truth beats comfort that conceals lies. Here's what nobody tells. People who judge others for being quiet during storms have never survived their own. They don't understand that sometimes strength looks like stillness. That courage sometimes means sitting in discomfort instead of running toward distraction. That healing often requires disappearing before truly reappearing. Silence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's honoring the process. It's refusing to rush growth that requires time. It's choosing depth over performance, substance over show, transformation over applause. When emergence happens from this silent season, and emergence will happen, speaking changes. Words carry weight because they've been refined in solitude. Presence commands respect because it's rooted in self-knowledge. Peace becomes unshakable because it wasn't built on external validation. The hardest challenge teaches that silence isn't the absence of something, it's the presence of everything that matters. Strength, clarity, truth, becoming. Embrace the quiet. Let it remake. Let it reveal. Let it prepare for the version of life that requires the version this silence creates. Number 2. Pain becomes the map, not the trap. Pain gets misunderstood. Society teaches to avoid it, numb it, hide it behind smiles and fine responses. But pain isn't the enemy. Ignorance of its purpose is. Every ache, every heartbreak, every moment of suffering carries coordinates. Not to where things went wrong, but to where transformation begins. Pain doesn't trap, it maps the journey from who we were to who we're meant to become. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This truth hits different when standing in the wreckage of shattered dreams. Consciousness doesn't arrive through comfort. It arrives through the cracks pain creates, letting light into places that stayed dark for too long. The hardest challenges don't just hurt, they illuminate. They show exactly where growth needs to happen, where boundaries should have been set, where self-worth got compromised, where truth got sacrificed for peace. Pain points to these places with brutal precision. Think about physical pain for a moment. Touch a hot stove, and pain screams, "Move your hand," twist an ankle, and pain demands, "Stop walking on it." The body uses pain as a guidance system, protecting from further damage. Emotional pain works the same way. It's not punishment, it's protection disguised as suffering. When betrayal cuts deep, pain maps out where trust was misplaced. When failure crushes spirit, pain maps out where preparation was lacking or direction was wrong. When loss breaks hearts, pain maps out how deeply love lived and how fully life was experienced. Every painful moment is a teacher holding a lesson nobody wanted but everyone needs. The mistake happens in running from pain instead of reading it, numbing it with distractions, drowning it in temporary pleasures, hiding it behind false positivity. But unread pain doesn't disappear. It becomes unresolved trauma. It turns into patterns that repeat, relationships that replay the same dysfunction, choices that lead to the same dead ends. Reading the map means sitting with discomfort long enough to understand its message. What is this pain trying to protect? What pattern is it trying to break? What truth is it forcing into awareness? These questions hurt to answer, but they're the difference between staying stuck and breaking free. Here's the powerful part. Pain that gets understood transforms into wisdom. The person who survives heartbreak learns what real love requires. The person who endures failure learns what true success demands. The person who walks through loss learns what actually matters in life. Pain becomes the curriculum for the next level. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The gym doesn't apologize for the burn in muscles. That burn signals growth. Life doesn't apologize for emotional burns either. They signal the same thing. Expansion happening, strength building, capacity increasing. Right now, someone watching this carries pain they haven't processed. It sits heavy in the chest. It wakes them at 3 in the morning. It colors every decision with fear. That pain is begging to be heard, not hidden. It's offering directions, not delivering destruction. Stop treating pain like the problem. Pain is the alarm system alerting to the real problem. Ignoring alarms doesn't make fires go away. It makes them spread. Acknowledging pain, understanding its source, and taking action based on its guidance. That's how fires get extinguished and phoenixes rise from ashes. The hardest challenge brings the most intense pain because it's correcting the most significant misalignment. Something in life was off course, maybe for months, maybe for years. Pain arrived to redirect, to realign, to rebuild on a foundation that can actually hold the weight of destiny. This doesn't mean pain feels good. It doesn't mean suffering should be celebrated. It means pain deserves respect as a messenger, not rejection as an enemy. Warriors don't fear their wounds. They read them, learn from them, and use that knowledge to fight smarter next time. The map pain provides leads out of the trap. It shows which relationships to release, which dreams to revise, which versions of self to outgrow, which truths to finally embrace. Following this map requires courage because the path goes through more discomfort before reaching relief. But staying in the trap because the exit looks hard, that's choosing slow death over difficult rebirth. Pain asks one question: are you ready to evolve? Every tear answers yes. Every sleepless night answers yes. Every moment of pushing through when quitting seemed easier answers yes. The challenge isn't surviving pain, it's surrendering to its teachings. When the lesson gets learned, the pain loses its power. Not because circumstances change, but because understanding changes. The map gets read, the trap gets escaped, the transformation gets completed. Number 3, falling apart is actually falling into place. Everything falls apart before it falls into place. This truth sounds like a cliché until standing in the rubble of a life that once made sense. The job that defined identity, gone. The relationship that promised forever, shattered. The plan that seemed foolproof, demolished. And in that moment of total collapse, panic screams that everything is ending. But something else is happening. Everything is beginning. Nature understands this perfectly. Trees shed leaves to survive winter. Snakes shed skin to grow larger. Caterpillars dissolve completely inside the cocoon. Their bodies literally turn to liquid before reforming as butterflies. Destruction isn't the opposite of creation, it's the prerequisite. Heraclitus said, "The only constant in life is change." But change doesn't arrive gently. It doesn't knock politely and wait for permission. Change demolishes what no longer serves to make room for what does. And from the outside, from the inside, from every angle, it looks like failure. Here's what gets missed. The falling apart is the falling into place. The relationship that ended. It was blocking the person meant to arrive. The job that was lost. It was delaying the calling waiting to be answered. The plan that failed. It was protecting from a future that would have felt like a prison. But seeing this requires perspective that only comes later. In the moment of collapse, all that's visible is loss. All that's felt is grief. All that's known is that nothing will ever be the same. And that last part, that's the truth worth holding on to. Nothing will be the same because same wasn't working. The hardest challenge breaks open life like a geode. From the outside, it's just a rock getting smashed. Violent, destructive, senseless. But inside are crystals that could never be seen, never be valued, never be appreciated without the breaking. The breaking reveals the treasure. Think about buildings that get condemned. They don't get demolished because someone's bored. They get demolished because the foundation is flawed, the structure is unsafe, the design can't support what needs to be built next. Life does the same thing. When the foundation of identity, relationships, or purpose is flawed, life condemns it. Not to punish, to protect. Not to end things, to rebuild better. Right now, someone watching this is in mid-collapse. The pieces are still falling. The dust hasn't settled. The pain is so fresh it feels permanent. And the hardest part? Not knowing what comes next. The old life is gone, but the new life hasn't arrived yet. That in-between space, that's where faith gets forged. Viktor Frankl survived concentration camps and wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." The falling apart isn't just about external circumstances crumbling. It's about internal structures transforming. Old beliefs about worth, about capability, about deserving, those beliefs fall apart too. And good. They were lies anyway. The person emerging from collapse isn't the same person who entered it. Can't be. The heat was too intense. The pressure was too great. Coal doesn't go through that and stay coal. It becomes diamond. Transformation isn't optional when everything falls apart. It's inevitable. But here's the part that requires trust. Falling into place doesn't look neat. It doesn't look organized. It doesn't look like those before and after photos that make transformation seem linear. It looks messy. It looks chaotic. It looks like maybe nothing is working and everything is getting worse before better arrives. Seeds don't bloom immediately. They fall into dark soil. They break open underground. They struggle through dirt before reaching sunlight. But that struggle isn't random. It's directional. It's falling into place even when it feels like falling apart. The hardest challenge dismantles the life that was built on shaky ground. People-pleasing, fear-based decisions, borrowed dreams, conditional self-worth. And yes, losing those things feels like losing everything. But they weren't supporting authentic existence. They were preventing it. What's falling apart right now? Let it. Stop trying to hold together what needs to break. Stop trying to save what needs to end. Stop trying to fix what needs to fail. The universe isn't clumsy. It's not dropping important pieces by accident. It's clearing space on purpose. Falling into place requires falling apart first. The mess is the method. The chaos is the cleanse. The breakdown is the breakthrough disguised in work clothes. Trust the process even when the process looks like disaster. When everything settles, and it will settle, the view will be clear. The pieces that mattered stayed. The pieces that didn't serve left. And the space created? That's where miracles move in. That's where purpose plants roots. That's where the life that was always meant to be lived finally begins. Number 4, strength isn't loud, it's lasting. Strength gets confused with spectacle. Society celebrates the loud declarations, the dramatic comebacks, the viral moments of triumph. But real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't perform. It doesn't need witnesses to validate its existence. Real strength is the single mother working 2 jobs and still showing up to her kids' school play with a smile. It's the person battling depression who gets out of bed when staying under covers feels safer. It's the quiet decision to try again after failing publicly. Strength isn't the roar. It's the breath taken before the roar and the silence held after. Lao Tzu wrote, "The strong man is the one who is able to intercept at will the communication between the senses and the mind. True power lives in restraint, not reaction, in endurance, not explosion, in the capacity to keep moving forward when every cell screams to quit." The hardest challenges don't build the strength that flexes in mirrors. They build the strength that carries grief without crumbling, the strength that forgives without forgetting the lesson, the strength that loves again after betrayal taught caution. This strength doesn't look impressive from the outside. It looks ordinary, but it's extraordinary. Think about oceans versus storms. Storms rage loud, destroy dramatically, and demand attention. But they pass quickly. Oceans move with quiet power. They shape coastlines over centuries. They hold depths that storms never reach. They remain when the noise fades. That's the strength the hardest challenges create. Ocean strength, not storm strength. People watching from the sidelines don't see this strength. They see someone who's too quiet now, someone who's changed, someone who doesn't engage in the drama anymore, doesn't explain themselves constantly, doesn't seek approval like before, and they mistake that for weakness. But it's the opposite. Choosing peace over proving a point takes strength. Walking away from arguments that don't serve growth takes strength. Setting boundaries with people who don't respect them takes strength. Staying committed to healing when the world demands immediate productivity takes strength. None of this is loud. All of it is powerful. The mistake happens in measuring strength by visibility, assuming if nobody sees the struggle, it isn't happening. Assuming if there's no social media post about overcoming, nothing got overcome. Assuming if tears fall in private, they don't count. But the strongest battles are fought in silence, in solitude, in the sacred space between who we were and who we're becoming. Here's what the hardest challenge teaches. Strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and still choosing to continue. It's about shattering into 1,000 pieces and having the patience to gather each one, examine it, and decide which pieces to keep and which to leave behind. Muhammad Ali said, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." The training nobody sees creates the victory everybody celebrates. The daily choice to keep going when motivation dies, when inspiration fades, when hope feels foolish, that's where champions are made. Right now, someone watching this is being strong in ways nobody acknowledges, paying bills while processing trauma, showing up to work while a heart breaks in slow motion, holding space for others while falling apart inside. That strength deserves recognition, even if it never receives it, especially if it never receives it. Loud strength burns fast. Lasting strength burns slow. One impresses crowds. The other builds legacies. One gets likes. The other gets results. One performs for validation. The other perseveres through validation's absence. The hardest challenge strips away the performance of strength and reveals its essence. No more pretending everything's fine when it's not. No more forcing smiles for comfort of others. No more making pain smaller so people feel less uncomfortable. Just raw, honest, quiet strength that says, "This is hard, and I'm doing it anyway." This strength doesn't need cheerleaders, though support helps. It doesn't need recognition, though acknowledgement matters. It doesn't need proof, though progress is real. This strength needs only one thing: the decision to keep breathing, keep believing, keep becoming, even when every reason to quit lines up and makes sense. Trees don't grow loud, mountains don't rise with fanfare, rivers don't carve canyons by announcing their power. Nature's strongest forces work in persistent silence, reshaping the world without seeking credit. That's the model, that's the method, that's the strength the hardest challenges forge. When this chapter ends, and it will end, the strength built here will remain, not as a trophy to display, but as a foundation to stand on, not as a story to tell, but as a knowing that lives in bones, the knowing that says, "I survived what should have destroyed me. I'm still here, I'm still standing, I'm still strong." Number 5. The person you're becoming is worth the pain you're enduring. Every struggle serves a sculptor. Every hardship holds a chisel. Every painful moment chips away at the excess, revealing the masterpiece hidden beneath the marble. Right now, in the middle of the hardest challenge, it doesn't feel like becoming. It feels like breaking. It feels like losing. It feels like everything valuable is being stripped away, leaving nothing but emptiness and exhaustion. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is excavation, digging through layers of conditioning, false beliefs, and borrowed identities to unearth the truth of who was always meant to emerge. Michelangelo said, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." Life is doing the same thing. The angel was always there. The masterpiece was always possible. But the excess had to go. The parts that didn't fit the design had to fall away. And that process is agony. The hardest challenges don't destroy potential. They expose it. They force confrontation with capacity that comfort would never reveal. They demand growth that easy seasons would never require. They create the person who can handle the life waiting on the other side of this pain. Think about what this struggle is requiring. Courage that didn't exist before. Resilience that wasn't needed until now. Wisdom that only comes through walking through fire. Compassion that only develops after knowing deep suffering. Boundaries that form only after being violated. Self-worth that solidifies only after being tested. Every quality needed for the next level is being forged in this current hell. The person being shaped right now isn't just stronger, they're different. They see through manipulation faster. They recognize genuine connection deeper. They value their peace fiercer. They protect their energy wiser. They love themselves truer. This version doesn't exist yet, but it's coming, and every painful day is bringing it closer. James Baldwin wrote, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." The hardest challenge forces facing what was avoided for years, facing the truth about relationships that were toxic but comfortable, facing the reality of dreams that belonged to someone else, facing the pattern of self-betrayal disguised as selflessness, facing the fear that controlled every decision. This facing hurts, but it heals. Here's the part that makes the pain worth it. The person emerging from this won't settle for less ever again, won't dim their light for insecure people, won't sacrifice their truth for temporary peace, won't accept crumbs when they deserve the whole feast. The threshold for what's acceptable changes completely, and that change, that's priceless. Right now, someone watching this doubts if they can keep going. The finish line isn't visible. The relief isn't arriving. The breakthrough feels like a myth sold by motivational speakers who never lived this particular nightmare. But here's the truth. Those doubts don't want acknowledged. Giving up now means staying who you currently are. Pushing through means becoming who you're meant to be. One choice keeps the ceiling low. The other one shatters it completely. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every phoenix was once ashes. The transition from one state to the next isn't pretty. It's not Instagram-worthy. It's messy, ugly, painful, and lonely. But it's necessary. Caterpillars don't become butterflies by staying comfortable. They dissolve completely. Total liquefaction. And then they restructure into something that can fly. The pain being endured right now is the dissolving. The confusion is the restructuring. The exhaustion is the energy being redirected toward transformation instead of maintenance. This isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. Not in some toxic positivity way that dismisses real suffering. In the truest sense, this is preparing you for a version of life that requires this version of you. Think about athletes training for championships. The pain in muscles isn't punishment, it's preparation. The exhaustion isn't failure, it's conditioning. The pushing past limits isn't cruelty, it's capacity building. Life is training you right now. For what? For everything you ever asked for but weren't ready to receive. For opportunities that would have crushed the old version. For relationships that require the healed version. For purpose that demands the refined version. The person you're becoming knows their worth without external validation. They set boundaries without guilt. They choose peace over chaos. They recognize their power without arrogance. They love deeply without losing themselves. They trust their intuition without second-guessing. They walk away from what doesn't serve without explanation. They show up fully without performing. They heal publicly without shame. They win quietly without needing applause. That person is worth every tear cried in darkness, worth every night spent questioning everything, worth every moment of doubt and despair, worth the isolation, the judgment, the misunderstanding, worth all of it. The hardest challenge is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Cross it. Don't turn back. The destination is worth the journey. Number 6. The bottom teaches what the top never could. Rock bottom gets a bad reputation. It's treated like failure's final destination, the place where hope goes to die, the end of everything worth living for. But rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation. And foundations are where everything solid gets built. The view from the top is beautiful but deceiving. Success at the peak creates illusions, that control exists, that invincibility is real, that the climb will never reverse. The top whispers lies about permanence while standing on ground that can crumble any moment. But the bottom tells only truth. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The bottom strips away every false reaction, every performed response, every conditioned behavior. When there's nothing left to lose, there's nothing left to fake. The mask falls because there's no audience left to perform for. And in that brutal honesty, clarity arrives. Rock bottom reveals who actually stays when the spotlight dims. It shows which relationships were built on status versus substance, which friends loved the position versus the person, which connections were transactional versus transformational. The bottom is a filter that only truth passes through. Here's what the top never teaches: sufficiency. At the top, there's always more to achieve, more to acquire, more to prove. The top breeds hunger that can never be satisfied because satisfaction isn't the goal, superiority is. But the bottom teaches that breath is enough, that sunrise still happens without achievement, that worth exists without validation, that life continues even when everything that defined life is gone. Think about soil. The richest soil sits at the lowest points. Water flows down, nutrients settle down, growth happens down. Gardens don't flourish on mountaintops, they thrive in valleys. The bottom isn't barren, it's where seeds actually take root because the ground is finally solid enough to support real growth. Right now, someone watching this is at their bottom. Bank account empty, relationship ended, health failing, reputation destroyed, dreams dead, and society says this is the worst place to be. But what if it's actually the best? What if this is where real life begins because fake life finally ended? The bottom forces questions the top never allowed time for. What actually matters? Who am I without the titles, the achievements, the applause? What brings genuine fulfillment versus temporary satisfaction? What deserves my energy versus what drains it? These questions get ignored at the top because distraction is endless up there. But the bottom demands answers because survival depends on them. Hitting rock bottom isn't falling from grace, it's falling into truth. The grace was the illusion. The truth is the solid ground that doesn't shift with circumstances, doesn't change with opinions, doesn't disappear when fortune reverses. This ground holds weight that the shaky platforms at the top never could. There's a reason buildings dig deep before rising high. The deeper the foundation, the taller the structure can reach. Skyscrapers don't sit on surface-level ground. They anchor into bedrock far below. The bottom isn't punishment for the climb, it's preparation for the real ascent. What the bottom teaches: resilience that doesn't need comfort, faith that doesn't need proof, strength that doesn't need witnesses, peace that doesn't need perfect circumstances, joy that doesn't need ideal conditions, love that doesn't need reciprocation, worth that doesn't need validation. These lessons are unavailable at the top where everything is provided. They only get learned where nothing is guaranteed. Right now, the bottom feels like failure, like everything was built just to crumble, like effort was wasted and time was lost. But the bottom is showing what the top hid. That structure was built on sand, that success was built on lies, that the whole thing needed to fall so something real could finally be built. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs broken pottery with gold, making the cracks more valuable than the original piece. The bottom breaks the pottery. But what gets built from the bottom uses those breaks as the most beautiful, most valuable parts of the new creation. The crack isn't the flaw, it's the feature that makes the piece priceless. When the climb begins again, and it will begin again, it won't be the same climb. It'll be intentional, not compulsive. Purpose-driven, not ego-driven. Sustainable, not performative. Because the bottom taught what the top never could. that real success isn't measured by height reached, but by depth of foundation. And that foundation, it's being laid right now, at the bottom, where everything solid begins. Number 7. Yesterday's version couldn't handle today's blessings. There's a reason certain doors stayed closed, a reason specific prayers went unanswered, a reason particular dreams never materialized despite desperate pleas and relentless effort. The timing wasn't wrong, the readiness was. Yesterday's version wasn't equipped for today's opportunities. The person who existed before this hardship lacked the capacity, the wisdom, the maturity, the boundaries, the self-awareness required to steward what's coming. And life, in its infinite intelligence, protected what was desired by withholding it until preparation was complete. Rumi said, "What you seek is seeking you." But here's the part that gets missed. What seeks you also waits for you. It waits for the version that can receive it without destroying it, the version that can maintain it without losing it, the version that can appreciate it without taking it for granted. Think about lottery winners who go bankrupt within years. They received the money before receiving the money management skills. The blessing arrived before the capacity to handle it developed. And the result? The blessing became a curse. Not because the blessing was bad, but because the recipient wasn't ready. The hardest challenge is the preparation period. It's life saying, "You asked for this, and I'm giving it to you. But first you need to become someone who can actually hold it." And that becoming process, it looks nothing like the blessing being prepared for. It looks like loss when abundance is being prepared. It looks like loneliness when partnership is being prepared. It looks like chaos when peace is being prepared. Right now, the challenge being faced is building capacity, emotional capacity to handle success without losing humility, mental capacity to manage complexity without losing clarity, spiritual capacity to receive abundance without losing gratitude, relational capacity to experience love without losing identity. Every painful lesson is an expansion, stretching the container so it can hold more. Yesterday's version would have ruined what's coming, would have chosen the wrong person because desperation clouded judgment, would have mismanaged the opportunity because impatience rushed decisions, would have sabotaged the blessing because unworthiness whispered lies, would have lost the gift because the hands weren't strong enough to hold it yet. Steve Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards." Right now, the dots look disconnected. The struggle seems unrelated to the dreams, the pain appears pointless to the goals, but backward from the future, every dot will connect perfectly. Every hardship will make sense as preparation. Every loss will reveal itself as protection. The relationship that ended, it cleared space for the one that's actually aligned with purpose. The job that was lost, it freed time for the calling that brings fulfillment. The plan that failed, it redirected toward the path that actually leads somewhere meaningful. Yesterday's version cried over these as losses. Today's version recognizes them as course corrections. Here's what the hardest challenge is really doing. It's killing who you were so who you're becoming can live. It's dismantling the mindset that would have wasted the opportunity. It's destroying the patterns that would have repeated the cycles. It's removing the people who would have hindered the growth. It's clearing the path for what couldn't coexist with the old life. Right now, someone watching this is frustrated with timing. Why not now? Why not yet? Why do I have to wait when I've wanted this for so long? Because now isn't time yet. Yet means more preparation needed. Wait means more capacity being built. The delay isn't denial, it's development. Think about fruit trees. Plant a seed and demand fruit immediately. Nothing happens. The tree needs seasons of growth before it can bear anything. Trying to force fruit before the tree matures damages the tree and prevents future harvests. Patience isn't punishment, it's protection of what's coming. The version being forged through current fire will receive what the previous version only dreamed about. Better relationships because boundaries now exist. Better opportunities because discernment now operates. Better peace because inner work now guides. Better success because character now supports. Better everything because capacity now matches calling. Yesterday's version couldn't handle today's blessings, but today's version is being equipped for tomorrow's abundance. The waiting isn't wasted time, it's invested time. The struggle isn't random suffering, it's intentional strengthening. The challenge isn't cruel punishment, it's careful preparation. When the blessing arrives, and it will arrive, it'll make perfect sense why it didn't come sooner. The gratitude will be deeper because the wait was longer. The appreciation will be stronger because the journey was harder. The stewardship will be wiser because the lessons were thorough. And most importantly, the ability to maintain it will be solid because the foundation was built properly. The hardest challenge isn't delaying the dream, it's developing the dreamer. And that development, that's the real blessing disguised as burden. The hardest challenge of life doesn't come with a manual. It doesn't arrive with warnings or preparation time. It just shows up, uninvited and unannounced, and demands everything. But here's what it gives back. Everything that truly matters. It gives clarity when confusion ruled. It gives strength when weakness dominated. It gives wisdom when ignorance guided. It gives authenticity when pretending exhausted. It gives purpose when drifting felt normal. The hardest challenge takes what doesn't serve and returns what does. The exchange is brutal, but it's fair. These 7 lessons, silence as teacher, pain as map, falling apart as falling into place, quiet lasting strength, becoming worth the enduring, the bottom as foundation, and yesterday's unreadiness protecting tomorrow's blessings. They're not just concepts, they're survival tools. They're the difference between staying buried under rubble and rising from it transformed. Right now, wherever you are in your challenge, know this: you're not alone in the darkness. Millions are walking similar paths, fighting similar battles, questioning similar worth, and millions have walked through and emerged whole, healed, and victorious. You will too. The struggle is temporary, the strength is permanent, the pain is seasonal, the growth is eternal. Keep going, keep breathing, keep believing. The hardest chapter makes the best comeback story. Before you go, if this message moved something inside you, hit that like button. Drop a comment below. Share your truth, your struggle, your strength. Share this video with someone who needs these words today. Subscribe to this channel because this community stands together, grows together, and wins together. Your support means everything. The person you're becoming is already proud of you for not quitting. Honor that version by finishing what you started. If you're choosing hope over fear, drop this final affirmation in the comments. My story isn't over yet. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing growth over comfort. Thank you for your courage. This is your time. This is your transformation. This is your triumph waiting to happen. Keep going. The best is still coming.